Hello, this is Stephanie Perrault, your host with What's Up Silicon Valley in the real estate. We are the only show dedicated to talk about residential and commercial real estate here in the Silicon Valley. The show is addressing the different ways in which the corporate world and the community are impacting the real estate. Our goal is to find interesting stories that are shared by business owners, people from different corporations, sellers, buyers, realtors, and residents. Then if you're here and you would like to share your story, please contact us through our website, which is whatsupsiliconvalley.com. This is our first show, and therefore we have dedicated to Mountain View. We are going to start with an exclusive interview of our mayor, Mike Kasperzak. He's going to talk about the general city plan for 2030, and he's going to share what he thinks about the impact of the big corporations that surround Mountain View, and also how the city of Mountain View and those corporations are working together in order to benefit our community. Then let's go and watch our mayor in his beautiful office in the City Hall. Thank you very much for opening your door here. I know your schedule is very tight, and we are very appreciative for the time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Then we would like to talk about the impact of the technology companies in the Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And my first question would be, what do you know about the impact that Google or LinkedIn or Microsoft, to name a few, have on the community?
Well, on the community or on real estate?
On the community in general.
Well, they have a significant impact in many different ways. Google, for one, is probably now the largest employer in the city. At least that's my perception, with over 20 to 25,000 people, most of those here on the Mountain View campus. They have over 1,000 people, Googlers, that live in Mountain View. Google, clearly, because of the product they have, has this, there's probably not a person in Mountain View that doesn't use Google. A number of people in Mountain View probably are using LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn person. I've got lots of connections. Same with Intuit. So all of these companies are doing business with all the people that live in Mountain View. So their products are used. But more importantly, what effect do they have on the community? Google is becoming increasingly more generous in its interactions with the community. It's donated millions of dollars to schools and various organizations around. It's increasingly becoming a player in the philanthropic community. Microsoft has always been a big player in philanthropy, making their campus available for organizations to have events, and LinkedIn even. I know LinkedIn is going to be sponsoring the retreat for the Chamber of Commerce. So these and many of the other companies, Intuit is another very large presence here. So they're engaging with the community. They treat Mountain View as their home, and they're doing what they can to take care of the community and take care of the people that live in the community, which I think is great.
Could you share with us, in regard to the city of Mountain View and major companies, what do they do to have a positive effect and to make the community grow?
Well, simply by their growth, they have an impact. Every one of those companies, every company that's starting on Castro Street wants to grow. And to grow, they need more space. They have more employees, some of which will hopefully live in Mountain View. But Mountain View is a constrained community. We don't have a lot more space to grow, unlike some cities around the country where they just keep growing. Mountain View is constrained by Sunnyvale, Los Altos, Palo Alto, and San Francisco Bay. So there's not a lot of room to grow. But as these companies need more space, the City Council is updating our general plan, and that's going to be providing the opportunity for the development of more office space It will provide for the development of more housing, principally rental and high-density housing along very established high-density corridors like El Camino, the downtown, perhaps in the North Bay Shore, and in the Wisman industrial area. So the growth of these companies and the desire to have a diverse economic or a diverse corporate culture means that the city needs to adjust its plan and grow to remain relevant in the world. And the city is doing that.
Okay, then it has definitely a huge impact on the real estate.
It absolutely does. It just in Google, other companies like it in the past, Silicon Graphics similarly, but Google has had an incredible impact on commercial real estate values, especially in the North Bay Shore, also over in Wisman, which is another industrial area of Mountain View. They've now acquired 2 campuses over there. And so as they buy up or acquire rights to the land, it increases the values, increases the property values for other people wanting to come in. As I go out on corporate visits, I hear 2 things. There's not enough room to grow in Mountain View, and it's very expensive to find land here. And it's true. So success breeds some problems, and one of those is the cost of rental land, the cost of acquiring land. It's great for our property tax revenue as the taxes, as the assessed values continue to go up, the assessed value goes up, provides more property tax to the city, which is also a good thing to help fund the city operations to support all of those businesses and the employees that they bring into town. It's also had an impact on housing. We're getting back into a good housing market, but the demand in Mountain View for housing is high, both ownership housing and rental housing. We're beginning to see that we were on HGTV's House Hunters about 3 weeks ago, and a young couple was looking for a house in Mountain View for $650,000. And the first thing the realtor said is, have you thought about living in another community in Silicon Valley, because you're not going to find much in Mountain View for $650,000. And they ended up not being able to find a place in Mountain View, which is, it's unfortunate that we don't have more opportunity for people to live in Mountain View.
Yes, definitely. Even if the market is picking up in general in the US, I think the Silicon Valley is very, very unique. It goes maybe like 3, 4, 5 times faster than any other place in America.
That's true, but it also fell really quickly in the dot bomb era. So I mean, it's a different cycle, but there's definitely a cycle.
We're riding a good wave now.
Right now, it's a good wave.
Definitely. As the general plan for 2030 is being finalized this year, what do we expect for the residential and commercial real estate in Mountain View?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, we're going to be having the opportunity for more commercial development. It's not really industrial, but office development in several specific areas of town. The Wisman area, which is where Symantec and a Google campus is, and a lot of HP is over there. Nokia, Siemens is moving in over there. The North Bay Shore, which is a very heavily predominated by Google, but also by LinkedIn, and a number of bioscience companies are out there, and San Antonio Shopping Center and El Camino. So we'll see more growth in those areas. There's already big growth happening at San Antonio Shopping Center right now. But there's more opportunity to build office and more opportunity for housing. Housing will also predominantly be along El Camino and in the North Bay, or some in the North Bay Shore possibly, and that's an issue that's still being decided by the council, whether we want to have any additional housing in the North Bay Shore area, create a village along Shoreline and Charleston in Shoreline. So there won't be a lot of growth, if any growth, in traditional single-family home neighborhoods. Those are established neighborhoods, but the growth will be along transportation corridors, in the downtown area, along transportation corridors, again in San Antonio, and probably in the North Bayshore, although that's still open. But all of this housing will be higher density apartments, condominiums, possible townhomes, but probably not much new single-family, large lot home development. We're pretty built out in that area.
Then basically lots of people will have to commute and live outside.
And that's true throughout the Bay Area. There are so many jobs. People, commute, are always going to commute. People keep changing their jobs, so they might live in the same city as their job one year, but then next year they move to another company, or their company moves, and now, like Evernote, they're moving up to Redwood City because they don't have enough space here in Mountain View. So everybody that lives here and works for Evernote is now going to have to drive to Redwood City or take the train. So there's always that aspect. But from a sustainability perspective, it's actually troubling that so many people actually have to come here from far away, like the Livermore Valley, or even Tracy and Modesto. A lot of people commute in. That's not good environmentally. So the Bay Area has more jobs than it has housing, and that is problematic. It's something we're all trying to deal with. But people that already live here, they don't want to see too much change in what's happening in their community, so we got to be sure and do it right.
Yeah, and this is why you're looking closely at transportation.
Absolutely, and we're looking in Mountain View specifically at a number of new and innovative transportation options, some which don't even exist yet. They're still in sort of the conceptual stages, but it would be really neat if Mountain View was one of the first communities in the United States to start integrating really, truly high-tech, innovative transportation solutions to connect the North Bayshore with the rest of the city, because the North Bayshore is an island of Mountain View, separated by Highway 101. So we need to connect that. It's already hard to get there in the morning. Too many cars getting in there. We really need to do something about it now, not just in the future.
Exactly. Thank you very much. It was great to hear your point of view on the future of the community. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate, Mike.
It's always a pleasure.
And now we are going to take you downtown Mountain View on Castro. We are going to interview some residents and ask them about their opinion on their city. What do you think has been the impact of companies like Google, LinkedIn, Facebook in our community here in Mountain View?
Well, there's been a direct impact by the companies that have grown up here, and so there's more and more people around shopping and eating and working.
Well, I think Google has 10,000 people working here, and it's a successful company, so it provides a lot of jobs, and it's very good for Mountain View.
Well, I think a lot of people have moved here because of that. A lot of times when you're downtown in Mountain View, you meet a lot of people that work for those companies.
It's got a lot of employment opportunities for people.
It's crazy how many engineers you meet in a day.
As a restaurant, we've been able to create a lot of banquets with them. They created a lot of, obviously, the free Wi-Fi has made it very accessible for all of my guests who like to sit on the patio of the restaurants. And it's been very good, obviously, for the economy.
We've seen definitely more internationalization of residents in the last, say, 10 years. I've noticed it just living here. More people from Europe have come over. You just see it. You actually see more bicycle riders, too, which is a good thing.
Definitely helped the economy around here in the Silicon Valley, and I feel like since we have so many engineers around here, it's fun to hang out and talk to them because they're so technical and they know so many things.
Are you happy about the way the local major corporations are giving back to our community?
Extremely happy. Without them, we really wouldn't have half the stuff we do with our tax dollars, with us going to the schools.
One thing with Google, they don't pay very many taxes. I don't think, the city gets money from Google for leasing land, but we don't really get money from them for, they make pretty good buck, and we don't get a cut of that. So, but they've done other things like Wi-Fi, but I think I probably shouldn't say this on, but it doesn't seem like they're paying their fair share of taxes.
It's fundamentally nice to have a big company back in Mountain View again after, I think it was SGI owned the building prior to Google, after they sort of went belly up and that whole area was essentially vacant and dormant through the burst of the dot-com bubble. It's nice to have a major company come back and sort of instill a presence in the area.
Yeah, I know a lot of them are involved in non-profit organizations, and that's really something that we need.
How can they improve?
I don't know. They seem to be on the top of the game right now, so I don't think they have too much to improve on.
More money for schools and programs for students.
Keep looking for projects that really benefit the people that live here and work here and build a sense of community.
More taxes, more money to the schools.
What do you like best about Mountain View?
It's a nice town. It's very. I live a couple blocks from here, and it's very friendly. People know each other. There's you pass people on the street, they say hi, and it's kind of I think the mayor likes to say it's the big city with kind of the small town.
Castro Street. I love all the stores, all the restaurants.
I love the downtown.
Castro Street.
It's very community-like, and it's very nice.
It's very accessible. There is lots of restaurants. The nightlife is fun as well.
What do you think the city of Mountain View need to focus or prioritize on?
Maybe I would say something for children. I was a nanny for the longest time, and I feel like I would always go to Palo Alto because they had a lot of parks, playgrounds for kids. I feel like this downtown over here is more for adults or younger people or families.
Oh man, I would give anything for them to shut down Castro and make it just a walking boulevard.
I think overall, though, they do a pretty good job.
So they should stop putting up rental units and start putting in condos or things that people can buy.
What city is the ground zero of the technology industry in the world?
San Jose.
Mountain View, Palo Alto, and Menlo Park.
It's going to be either Santa Clara or maybe Sunnyvale, Mountain View, any of those three.
Mountain View might be one of them.
Hello, today our guest is Ron Vincent, and I'm extremely pleased to have him. Ron has been living and working in Mountain View for the last 38 years. He's an electrical engineer, and he's a great wealth of information and knowledge about the technology, industry, and history here in the Silicon Valley. And tonight he's going to share with us how the industry was born here in Mountain View and in the Silicon Valley. Then can you please just tell us everything, how it started here in Mountain View?
My experience started in Mountain View in about 1973 when I first came here, and of course there were any number of companies here before that. But the main ones that existed at the time were Hewlett-Packard, and a lot of people worked in Mountain View at small places for HP, but most people worked in Palo Alto, but a lot of people lived in Mountain View. And then there was aerospace companies, Aeronautronic Ford, which made the Houston Control Center for NASA. They also made many satellites. Of course, Lockheed was just around the corner. And in Mountain View itself, we had people like Silicon Graphics came along, and we had, then later on, we had Accuson and Google, of course, Netscape. And the interesting thing is that all of these companies, whether they lived or died, Silicon Graphics died, Google sort of took over their real estate. The innovation that occurs here keeps happening and happening over my entire lifetime, even before I started working. Fairchild Semiconductor was here. Fairchild got Intel. Most people don't realize that Intel was actually founded in Mountain View, but then moved out of Mountain View to Santa Clara. Fairchild moved out of Mountain View. Hewlett-Packard, that used to be at what was originally Mayfield Mall, moved out. There were, at its peak, 1,600 jobs there. But in every instance, the innovation that occurs here created new companies, whole new industries that more than replaced whatever was lost before that. It's a wonderful example of continual regeneration of the concept of nothing is good enough now and we're going to change it all and make it better in the future. The effects of this were seen in many ways. One of the things is Mountain View is a very well-run city. It's, for the entire time I've been here, it's Mr. Dugan was one of the guys who's retired now as a city manager. He did an excellent job of making sure the city always had money, and because of that, parks were built like Shoreline Park, golf course, the amphitheater. That was all built on garbage from San Francisco. In 1968, the City of Mountain View made a deal with the, I believe it was Sunset Scavenger at the time in San Francisco, who was one of the two garbage companies there. And they brought the garbage down here to Mountain View to dump in the slough that existed out there. Of course, we don't do that anymore for environmental reasons, but in those days, we still filled in the bay. And that was part of what the goal was, is to fill that area in and develop it. And the goal was always a park. So that park, the lake, golf course, the amphitheater, it's all built on garbage.
Wow, this is pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And the other thing that people don't know is the garbage continually decays, and there are wells out there that take the methane gas from the organic material that decays, and that methane gas is used in regeneration, so we get the use of that energy as I think the garbage will decay for 100 years or something. So the technology fits in there because we use some of that area now to be part of where Google is. And the companies that were earlier out there, well before Google, like Acuson, which is now Siemens Medical, they're still here. They hire a lot of people, very stable employer. We've had, of course, now new startups come in recently beyond Google, LinkedIn. There are any number of small startups that exist in Mountain View that the technology continues. Things not directly related to silicon, but indirectly, like Synopsys, which are CAD tools that engineers use to design the silicon with. There's many still, even small machine shops. There used to be more, but a lot of that business has moved out. It's difficult for a small business like that to stay here because of wages, environmental standards that have to be upheld. So they've moved either out of state or overseas, but there's still a lot of specialty firms that make things that really aren't made anywhere else in the world. The significance of all this in the social aspect, though, is pretty profound. Mountain View used to have like the Pacific Press, which was over off of Shoreline and Villa Street, and it was a huge company that did a lot of publications, private publication work. And they moved to Idaho, 1985. but multiple generations of people in Mountain View had worked at Pacific Press. It was founded in 1904. They couldn't stay here any longer. Wages, housing costs, again, environmental issues. They had to move out. Then there was the Ferry Morris Seed Company, which was kind of signaling the end of agriculture in the valley. This at one time wasn't exactly called Silicon Valley. It was the Valley of the Heart's Delight. And it was called that because everything grew here. Everything. It had orchards. The Chrysanthemum Association of the United States was headquartered here off of San Antonio Road. There were greenhouses that grew many, many flowers. We were the largest, I think in the middle 50s, we were the largest flower exporting place on the planet. And you could smell the flowers. If you came down here when the weather was fairly warm and the greenhouses had all their venting doors open, the smell of the flowers just kind of wafted in the wind through the air. And you'd be going down El Camino and you'd, oh my, what's that?
Wow, this is a pretty amazing change from going to the agriculture industry and flowers and switching to technology for the area. Thank you. It was great to have you on the show. Thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you again to have more of the history.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie.
And now we're getting ready for the market pulse. The market has changed drastically for the last 6 months. Then we are going to listen and watch what the real estate community has to share with us.
Hi, this is Joe Lima with Princeton Capital. Just wanted to give you a mortgage update and what's currently going on in the mortgage market. Right now, for those of you out there looking at interest rates, you're seeing somewhere around 4%. A lot of that has to do with the Fed saying that they're not going to raise interest rates until 2014. Now that doesn't mean that the interest rate is going to be dead stuck at 4% or right around 4% or wherever it's at today until 2014 comes. But what that means is the overall sense of the Fed and how the economy is moving is that they do not see a big increase in interest rates over the next couple of years. Interest rates still fluctuate. You can see a fluctuation between 1/8 or 1/4% given whatever given day it is on the market and how the stock market's moving and the bond prices are moving. But if you're seeing, at 4%, maybe a little bit below or a little bit above, that's generally where the interest rates are seen on a 30-year fixed mortgage right now. For any other information, feel free to visit me on my website. And thanks for watching me on What's Up Silicon Valley, and look forward to another update next month.
This is Stephanie with What's Up Silicon Valley Real Estate. Thank you for watching our show. I just want to make sure that you are going to be there for our next rendezvous next month. We are going to talk about the impact of Google in our city here in Mountain View, and we have an exclusive interview on the menu with John Agu from Google, and I'm looking forward to see you again next month.